and welcome to Lunchtime Politics. Here are the highlights. The federal government team led by the Minister of Labour and the Nigeria Labour Congress are expected to resume discussions on the demands of workers in order to avert another possible nationwide strike. President Bola Tinubu has met with his South African counterpart Cyril Ramaphosa as part of the efforts to advance ties in repositioning both countries. Plus, the former governor of Imo State, Ikedio Hakim, says he is supporting the new Imo Charter of Equity adopted by the Imo State Elders Council ahead of the November 11 governorship elections. And part to the main headlines now, as part of efforts to avert a possible strike action by the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress over the removal of subsidy on petrol and other workers' demands. The federal government team, led by the Minister of Labour and Employment, Simon Lalong, and the Nigeria Labour Congress leadership are expected to resume discussions over the demands so that the strike would not take place. The meeting between the two parties had ended without reaching a resolution on Monday. Now, at that meeting, which held yesterday, being Monday, the NLC had threatened to embark on an indefinite strike action to protest against what it termed the government's refusal to address issues bordering on workers' welfare and the non-implementation of recommendations made by the NLC on how to cushion the effects of the removal of petrol subsidy. At the resumption of the meeting at the Ministry of Labour and Employment, the minister gave assurances of the federal government's readiness to address all their demands, appealing to labor leaders to strike a balance commensurate with economic realities. But that meeting ended without a definite resolution.
The president of Nigerian Labour Congress, Mr. Joe Ajero, is leading other members of the Labour Union to this meeting with the Minister of Labour and Employment. The two ministers of Labour and directors in the ministry are all attending this meeting, which aims to resolve the disagreements between the federal government and the NLC and prevent the impending indefinite strike. Before the meeting enters into a closed session, the Minister of Labour appeals to the leaders of the NLC to strike a balance that reflects the current economic realities of the country.
We acknowledge the valid grievances that have fueled the recent labour crisis, and we are committed to addressing them in a just and equitable manner. We must also recognize the economic realities that confront us. As we address the concerns of our workforce, we must be mindful of striking a balance.
However, the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress appears not to have faith in this meeting, as he says he is attending with mixed feelings owing to the failure of previous meetings to address their demands.
We came with mixed feelings on whether it will work or not, because we have had so many meetings, some beyond this level.
Mr. Ajero also speaks on the crisis rocking the Nigerian Union of Road Transport Workers.
We raised the second issue of the version of the office of the National Union of Road Transport Workers. So under our watch, a trade union office has been violated. Police invaded it and removed the elected officers of that trade union office. They went ahead and killed somebody. As we talk now, those people are behind bars, a president and general secretary of a union. What are we negotiating? Even on that point alone, our strike action will move ahead with it.
The meeting proceeds into a closed-door session, after which both the minister and the NLC president briefed journalists.
Our meeting was very robust, and we had a very, very fruitful meeting. But at the end of the day, many of those items that we left are still for consideration, and before the final agreement, or what I would call discussions,
You can see that there's no agreement on any or no implementation. There is no CNG anywhere. The refineries are not working. Wage award, transfer, there are also issues. So those are issues we believe that between now and the next few days when the ultimatum will expire, that something will happen.
This meeting with the NLC is the first since the Nigerian Labour Congress suspended a 2-day warning strike last month. A similar meeting held 2 weeks ago was only attended by members of the Trade Union Congress, TUC. As this meeting ends, there was no resolution as to whether or not the proposed indefinite strike by the NLC will still hold.
And let's go on to New York, where world leaders and ministers have been engaging in high-level UN discussions in New York amid the need to build global connections with government leaders. Our correspondent Maria Baird has more on the preparations.
The 78th UN General Assembly high-level meetings open with a focus on climate change, health inequality, and the need to address security issues across the world. The world is watching as the summit works to address global challenges with hunger and poverty that have been heightened as a result of a health pandemic and war.
Despite commitments to eradicate poverty and to reduce hunger being at the core of this agenda, alarmingly, 1.2 billion people were still living in multi-dimensional poverty.
The SDGs aren't just a list of goals. They carry the hopes, dreams, rights, and expectations of people everywhere. Yet today, only 15% of the targets are on track, and many are going in reverse.
Despite the Assembly's plans to pick up the pace on implementing development efforts across the world, many convened in New York City in front of the UN building protesting the government. These anti-government protests focused on dissatisfaction with government leadership. New York City is one of the largest cities in the world with over 8.5 million people and continues to serve the UN General Assembly with extended security and increased accessibility to government leaders and ministers that are attending the 78th UN General Assembly, with an intentional focus on reaching the UN 2030 agenda. From New York City, Maria Bird, Channels Television News.
Now, on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, President Bola Tinubu and his South African counterpart Cyril Ramaphosa are advancing ties to position both countries as economic powerhouses to move the global South forward. Their bilateral engagement, which is ahead of the United Nations Assembly, also seeks to have a common voice in pursuit of reforms of Bretton Woods institutions to strengthen economic resilience of developing nations. A statement by the president's spokesman, Mr. Ajirin Galali, says President Bola Tinubu maintained that both countries must join hands and agree that international finance institutions require reform, as Africa is not to be a ground for economic scavenging any longer. In this response, President Ramaphosa affirmed that they would love to see Nigeria and South Africa working closely together on a number of issues. He commended President Tinubu's bold economic reforms and his leadership of ECOWAS over the coup in Niger, while extending an invitation for a state visit by President Bola Tinubu. And on to the judiciary, the Zamfara State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Sokoto has upheld the election of People's Democratic Party's candidate Dauda Lawal as the governor of the state after dismissing the petition of the All Progressives Congress governorship candidate Bello Matawale for lacking in merit with a fine of 500,000 naira. Mr. Matawale had filed a petition challenging the outcome of the March 18 governorship election in which Governor Lawal was declared winner. The chairman of the three panel of justices led by Justice Cordelia Ogadi held that the petitioner did not prove his allegation of wrongful collation of election results, overvoting, and non-conduct of polls in some wards in the state. While the counsel to Governor Lawal had an INEC hailed the judgment, the lead counsel to the petitioner said their client will give instructions on the next line of action.
Zamfara State governorship election petition just delivered judgment lasting over 5 hours. And the summary of their judgment is that the petition against His Excellency Dauda Lawal is devoid of merit, and the tribunal dismissed it with cost of 500,000 naira. And the tribunal also affirmed that the declaration of His Excellency Dauda Lawal was properly done by the Independent National Electoral Commission in the election conducted on the 25th of March 2023. So the governor is firm on ground, and he should continue to dispense dividends of democracy to the people of Zamfara State.
The petitioner won the election in Maradu. And if you had a result sheet with the result sheet they collated, automatically the petitioner will now be declared the lawful winner of that election. But the petitioner, in their own wisdom, by Tribunal, says that same result should be discontinuous, that it was not done by the maker of that document. But the law has transcended beyond this level of document or documentary evidence. We're able to show as petitioners INEC document that gave us the winning structure, and the table was contained in our petition. Secondly, sir, we're also able to show that the election in Maribangaji and some other local government were inconclusive because there was no election at all, and some were cancelled because of overvoting. But now all those points were raised by petitioners. But with this judgment now, we look at the judgment, judge our client, and take a step further, because the judgment are part of electoral processes. That is why the law established the election tribunal. We almost remain grateful to our client for engaging us to serve this legal aspect. We must ensure that any case that comes to our purview as lawyers, we must take that steps to ensure justice of the matter should be done within the scope of justice and justice system of the electoral system.
And to speak more on the tribunal's judgment, we have joining us from Gusau, the Zamfara State, the spokesperson of the governor of Zamfara State, Mr. Sulaiman Idris. Mr. Idris, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What's the reaction of the governor to this judgment?
Well, the judgment in Sokoto yesterday by the Governorship Election Tribunal didn't come to us as a surprise, because it was a confirmation of the collective decision of the people of Zamfara State. This was a decision taken on the 18th of March during the governorship election. And Governor Dauda Lawal won the election by winning 10 local governments out of 14 local governments. The incumbent, the past governor went to court challenging the outcome of the election, thinking that maybe he will find his way, because it was a clear indication that the people of Zamfara were tired and they need a change.
You know, when you say it did not come as a surprise, one would think that maybe you had a peek into the judgment report of the tribunal. But then, what was the reaction like of the people if you already knew that it was going to come out in your favor? Why bother going to court? And how did the people of Zamfara take the judgment?
It did not come as a surprise. Is because we won election, hands down. What happened in Zamfara during the 18th March governorship election was a clear indication of what the people want. So the people voted for Governor Dauda Lawal, and he won the election with an impressive margin of 65,750 votes. So the reason why I said it didn't come as a surprise is because it is the decision of the people. It's like a confirmation of the decision of the people. That was the expectation, that the people have decided, and the court, the tribunal, has confirmed the decision of the people of Zamfara State.
Okay, so you heard the reaction from the petitioner, that the petitioner's lawyer, that they are waiting for instructions to decide whether to go forward on the next line of action. Should they decide to take it further to appeal, what would be your expectation? That you'll still win?
They have the right to go to appeal, but we are optimistic that we are going to win, even in the appeal.
But even with this judgment right now, would it change the modus operandi of your principle in terms of serving the people of Zamfara State? Would it inspire more action and faster action?
This judgment by the tribunal in Sokoto will give my principal more. It will give him more. It will serve as a kind of a moral booster to him, because let me tell you, in his few months in office, Governor Dauda Lawal has achieved a lot, more than what the previous administration couldn't achieve in 4 years. He achieved most of these things in 14 days and in 100 days. For instance, let me cite an example with the water issue in the state capital, Gusau. When we are in the past, or the first 3 years, there was no water in the capital city of Gusau. But upon assumption in office, Governor Dauda Lawal resolved the water scarcity in Gusau within 14 days. And the issue of NECO and WAEC, government secondary school students were not able to sit, been able to sit for WAEC for the first 3-4 years. But in just less than a month, Governor Dauda Lawal sat with the officials of the WAEC and NECO, and our students, the government secondary school students, sat for the last NECO examinations in Zamfara State. So this and the ongoing urban renewal, this is the first time that such kind of infrastructural development is happening in Zamfara State. Many people were seeing it like a dream that something like this is happening in the state capital. We are talking about the state capital. We are not talking about the other local governments.
So now that the tribunal judgments come and gone, whatever we're going to hear from the opposition, we'll let our viewers know about that and take it up on the news. But let's ask you this real quick. Would it change, as I said earlier, would it change the speed with which you're delivering service to the people of Zamfara?
Yes, we are on course. I think this will serve, like what I have just said earlier, that it will serve as a moral booster to the governor. We'll just continue with what we have been doing in making sure that we serve the people, because we're on a rescue mission. That was the slogan during the campaign. We're on a rescue mission. We'll make sure that we deliver and make Zamfara better.
All right, thank you very much. The spokesperson for the Zamfara State Governor, Mr. Suleiman Idris, thank you for speaking to us on Lunchtime Politics.
Thank you.
And on to Taraba State, where the All Progressives Congress APC candidate for Lao State constituency, Emmanuel George, has created an upset in the Taraba Elections Petition Tribunal sitting in Jalingo on Monday. The tribunal upturned the victory of Nuhu Akila of the PDP. Also, 2 other candidates of the All Progressives Congress, Batulu Mohammed from Gashaka State constituency and Abel Peter of Mbanga constituency, have retained their seats at the tribunal. The tribunal, presided over by Justice Benson Ogu, had dismissed 2 cases against elected members of the APC at the Taraba State House of Assembly, while a petition against Nuhu Akila of the PDP was granted in favor of the petitioner Emmanuel George. In a late-night ruling, the judge ordered that the certificate of return be retrieved from Nuhu Akila of the PDP and given to Emmanuel George of the APC. The suits instituted at the tribunal are against Batulu Mohammed of the APC for Gashaka State constituency by Umar Gayam of the PDP and Ima Bongo of the PDP against Abel Peter of the APC for Mbanga State constituency. The petitioners were on 2 grounds. The petitions were on 2 grounds against which include non-qualification and non-compliance to the Electoral Act, which were dismissed. In the suit by Mohammed Gayam of the PDP, counsel to the respondent, Mohammed Bashir, said the petition was dismissed for lack of merit. The tribunal entered judgment for the respondent that there was substantial non-compliance as alleged by the petitioners, so the tribunal dismissed the petition for lacking in merit because they were unable to prove their case. Bashir stated. Elated Emmanuel George expressed his pleasure over the judgment. He says justice has prevailed. We have said it earlier that we have won majority of the lawful votes that were cast. It was sorted and counted at the full glare of the public, and the tribunal has affirmed that I am the true winner of that election. They went on ahead to say INEC should retrieve the certificate of return and also return to him immediately. And ahead of the November 11 governorship elections in Imo State, the former governor of Imo State, Ikedio Hakim, has been speaking on the new Imo Charter of Equity, recently adopted by the Imo State Elders Council, a charter which encourages even rotation of the governorship seat between the three geopolitical zones in the state. He was speaking at a press briefing in Owerri, the Imo State capital. The former governor also released a document titled Imo Charter of Equity and Uzodimma's re-election bid, open letter to my Imo brethren. Former governor urged all Imo indigents to support the re-election bid of Governor Hope Uzodimma to complete another 4 years tenure, considering his sterling performance in the last 3.5 years. He lauded Governor Uzodimma for backing the Imo Charter of Equity, and according to him, a religious adoption of the Charter of Equity by the Imo people will bring political stability and unity in the polity of Imo State going forward.
We have to take into consideration the factor of a sitting governor. It is heartwarming that Governor Uzodimma is favorably disposed to the idea of returning to the charter, because it will take a sitting governor to make it work, as we witness under Udemwa, and as it is the case in all the states around us where power sharing is working. But if Uzodimma gets his second term through another round of scrambling for power among the three zones, it will again be to Athens or Israel. In other words, contrary to the thinking in some quarters that Governor Uzodimma might have engineered the new interests on the charter, the truth is that it will be impossible, practically impossible, to implement it without taking his interest as an incumbent into consideration. As I noted earlier, the elders were not all together in order in naming the zone to which the office of the governor should go after Governor Uzodimma's second term in 2028. That pronouncement was preemptive. That pronouncement was patronizing. In concluding this section of my letter to Ndimo, let me ask, why is power rotation working in all the states around us? It's working in Abia, it's working in Ebonyi, it's working in Enugu, it's working in Anambra, and so on, and not working in our own state, Imo.
The crime matters in Ogun State. 9 suspects have been arrested in connection with the death of 8 people following a clash between 2 rival cult groups in Shagamu, the Ogun State, over the weekend. A statement by the police spokesperson in the state, Omolola Odutola, explained that the arrest was made following a raid by an assistant commissioner of police from the command. Those apprehended are identified as Oshaye Omolaja, Aziz Nofew, Matthew Adewale, Bolaji Ogunkemaya. He said Ogunkemaya was found with the 4 people who were killed in the same room where the incident occurred, while one other suspect, Wasiu, managed to escape. According to the police, during the raid, Ogunkemaya stated that their leader, known as Azibike, had earlier been arrested by the area command. Meanwhile, the state government has imposed a dusk to dawn curfew in the affected area. The senator representing Kwara North District, Sadiq Umar, is worried about the activities of illegal miners in the country, which he says fuels insecurity in some parts of the nation. He's optimistic that President Bola Tinubu has robust plans to tackle the menace and also generate wealth from the solid mineral sector. He was addressing journalists at the 39th edition of the media interaction organized by the Kwara State Council of the Nigeria Union of Journalists. He identified illegal mining as a major security concern in many parts of the country, his senatorial district includes. In an effort to cushion the hardship following the removal of fuel subsidy, the Northeast Development Commission has handed over food and non-food palliatives to 20 organized groups and tertiary institutions in Yobe State. Making the symbolic presentation in Damaturu, the NEDC State Coordinator, Dr. Ali Abbas, explains that the exercise is a continuous one and will ensure it reaches all the nooks and crannies of the state. The beneficiaries include the Nigeria Labour Congress, Trade Union Congress, Christian Association of Nigeria, Orphanage Homes, network of civil society organizations, people living with disabilities, among others.
Today, we are going to do this program in batches. We have today invited 20 organized prior organizations, as well as all the tertiary institutions in Yobe State. So what we will be doing is we will invite each organized group to be here. We present the award letter, then we symbolically hand over their palliatives to them. Then we move to the next group or to the next institution, inshallah. So we should do that gradually. And we urge you all to be patient, as you have always been since the beginning of this program and up till the end of this program. For rice, we are dealing 2,080 bags of rice. All these are branded in NEDC bags.
And in Bauchi, the rural communities are set to experience a lift in economic activities as the state government flags up the construction of a 19-kilometer rural access road. This flagship road project is part of the Rural Access Agricultural Marketing Project supported by the World Bank. Under the project, more than 1,000 kilometers of rural roads will be executed across the state. The governor expresses confidence in the project's ability to lift rural communities out of poverty.
We are leveraging on these supports to focus our attention on rural development by providing connectivity to agricultural marketing and production centers. This will definitely change the macro indices in favor of our rural populace and improve their livelihood, which would be achieved through the continuous improvement and sustainability of rural road infrastructure. I must note that the road mentioned by the Galadima is also captured in this project, and very soon after the 3 pilot projects, you will see roads being commissioned up to 1,000 kilometers in Bauchi.
And with that report from Bauchi, you've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Thanks for watching. I'm Nelta.